Hardy Construction.
What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction Videos Comp.
Ear vibrator.
As well as...
Thea.
Today's film is...
Creep, 2014.
Creep 2014. When a videographer answers a Craigslist ad for a one-day job in a remote mountain town, he finds his client is not at all what he initially seems. Directed by Patrick Bryce, written by Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass. Starring Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass. Thea, why did you pick this film?
So I picked this one because I heard about it a few years back, or I think I heard about it around when it came out. I knew that it was found footage, and I knew it was Mark Duplass. And I do like Mark Duplass.
Why?
Generally.
I know him. I don't know where.
Maybe it's literally because of this one movie. He was really good in The One I Love. He didn't write that though. I think he just co-produced it.
So if anybody doesn't know who Mark Duplass is, he and his brother Jay Duplass are pretty much not creators, but they're pretty much guys that are in producers, but they're also into the mumblecore scene, which is basically people kind of having conversations for 2 hours on film.
Didn't we watch something that they did like very recently?
I'm not sure. I think you might be wrong, but they're pretty prolific in their output of material. And their first film that they kind of got famous for was The Puffy Chair, that was in Sundance, and they got a lot. They're pretty inspiring guys, even if you're not into their material. They're like how you can make a feature film on $200. They're like trying to know, take every shortcut you can without making a shitty product. I was listening to a Bret Easton Ellis podcast episode where they were interviewing Mark Duplass, and it was very inspiring if you're a filmmaker, you want to make films at all. And even, like Mark Duplass, most likely people know him from the show called The League that was on FX for a while. I think it was on for six or so seasons. And it was pretty good. It's sort of like it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but it's like
Is he a stalker in it?
No, he's not. He's actually he acts about as good as he does in that show as he does in this film, which is he's not like the greatest actor, which he says. He's like, usually I can only take one take if I'm crying, so he's at least realistic about that. The One I Love is that film. That's with the girl from Mad Men, right?
Right, Elizabeth Moss.
You know, she was married to that guy from Saturday Night Live. What's his face from? What's that show? Portlandia. It's so weird that she was married to that guy.
Yeah, she was married to Fred Armisen, I think.
What was his name?
Fred Armisen.
Fred Armisen, right. I always... Never mind. Anyway, so this film deals with what, Thea?
So this film deals with a pretty simple premise, which is that a videographer goes to this guy's house to film him for a day and to be paid, I think it's $1,000 for the day. And I think he said it was a Craigslist ad, I'm pretty sure. So he shows up at this guy's house. The guy tells him, well, first of all, when he comes to the house, he knocks on the door and nobody answers. So he's waiting there for a bit, and then he starts to go back to his car, and this guy, I think he jumps out at him.
Yeah.
He should have just left.
Freaks him out, kind of.
There's super foreshadowing as well, because there's that super zoom-in close-up of an axe buried inside of a piece of wood or stump.
Right.
And
while he's waiting. Yeah.
How I heard about this film a long time ago, I heard it was really good, and it was called Creep, but I'd only known Mark because I knew Mark Duplass was part of it. I only like knowing the names of Duplass brothers. I've only seen Mark Duplass. Jay Duplass, I think, kind of stays behind the scenes, and Jay
I don't think he goes in front of the camera.
I think Jay had nothing to do with this film.
Do you think he's hideous? Right. Could it be something about that?
No, he's actually he's actually an okay. They look like hipsters. Him and his brother look like hipsters.
But maybe like he's wearing a lot of makeup, and underneath he has like a horrifying hair lip or something.
So they Mark and Patrick decided to put this film together because they were it was mostly improvisational. The writing of this film, they sort of just had outlines, sort of like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I wasn't really interested in seeing this because I wasn't really a big fan of that sort of. I don't know. I just probably didn't give them chances. I didn't give any of these people.
Milo, by the way.
I think maybe I like the idea of how they made it, and like concept-wise, how they took a very simple concept and just kind of ran with it, and it was very much like, it was just basically a two-hander. It's two guys on camera for most of it.
I think
two-hander.
I think what happened is, isn't it great how Thea and I are just ignoring Danny's jokes in this episode? But the reason why I don't want to, the thing we know about Mark Duplass also is that since it's a lot of mumblecore stuff, he was also in Safety Not Guaranteed, which is a film that sort of made it sort of a semi-hit, and the director from that got to do Jurassic Park World, or whatever it was called, Jurassic World, excuse me. And I was just never really interested in mumblecore film for some reason, even though I like films where a lot of people just talk for hours.
We've seen a lot of good ones, though. I don't know why not.
You know what also was a mumblecore? Toad Road. Remember how good that movie was?
No, okay, yeah, but just because one is bad doesn't mean they're all bad.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's why
movies matter, Alex.
Initially I wasn't. That's timely jokes. I was not interested in watching it, and I was like, whatever. And I just kept hearing it's good, and I'm like, how can this be? Because I mean, the one still that they used was him in silhouette on the top of that staircase that they used pretty effectively in the film. And I was like, what is this film about? Is it more just like a weird guy and you're just learning about his... And actually sort of exceeded my expectations the latter half of the film than the first half. Because it is seemingly... You can tell the budget obviously isn't there and it's just kind of two guys shooting the shit as a movie. But at least it has a narrative that goes somewhere in the second half. Because the thing that I always tell with Danny with found footage movies that I can't stand is the first... They try to make the first half an hour, this like uninteresting sort of dialogue between people so you can get to know the characters instead of just kind of getting into the storyline, which, a regular narrative would.
I actually didn't find it uninteresting at all, this movie.
No, I thought it was
fun.
I thought it was good. I thought like...
I mean, even the first half, though, I was enjoying him fucking with him the whole time.
That was the one thing that I just didn't dig was that it... Like, I was like, is this going to be an unconventional horror film? Because they also did a film called... I remember their first horror film was something called Baghead, which I think was about a bunch of actors trying to make a horror film, and then it all goes wrong, although I have no idea what the movie actually... what happens in that film, but it's called Baghead. And, let me see, is it...
Maybe that's what the brother Duplass wears over his horrifying head.
So, with that, I was like, I'm not going to like this, but I ended up enjoying it a lot because they kind of got something good with this film. Theo, what was your take on the interactions between Patrick Brice and Mark Duplass?
I thought it was okay. I think part of the problem for me, it was a little bit too on the nose in terms of creepiness. I was like, how, like, any normal person would be out of there within the first hour. I feel like
somebody on IMDb.
Like it's not like a slow build up to his creepiness. He's just constantly really fucking weird.
Yeah, but the guy prefaced it by saying, "I have cancer and I'm gonna die," so he feels bad for him.
Doesn't matter.
To some
also,
degree.
It's $1,000.
I don't know though. It's just I don't know. It just goes too far, too fast.
Honestly, even after watching the whole movie, I think it was worth $1,000.
Even dying?
Yeah. Because think what he did with those $1,000 before dying. He really lived it up. And the guy did promise to give him more money, so he's looking forward to that in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm, sure.
So this film...
Gotta wire that to heaven.
On IMDb, I was trying to find the person that said it, but they were like... where did I see what they said? But on IMDb, somebody who like kind of solidified a point that I had a feeling about the film is that this movie relied too much on stupidity for the plot to continue. And then, like, the main character... It was like I couldn't believe towards the end of the film when the character, is it John, the character he's playing?
Aaron.
I'm sorry.
And Joseph.
Aaron and Joe. Sorry, Joseph, the character. That's how fabulous those names are. Joseph sends him that final tape, and he's like, "I'll meet you outside in the park. It'll be in public, and you don't have to be worried about anything." And he's like, after all that shit, and then he's like crying on camera, like unconvincingly the second time. He's like, just look at him. He's so sad. And I was like, I was like, come on, man. I was like, you have to sell me a lot of bullshit.
Would do it.
I understand that, but you got to convince me a little bit more than that fucking bad acting that was like right there. Like he's like, he looks so sad. Like to me, that was like the most unbelievable delivery of a line I've seen in a film in a while because it was like.
I didn't think of was that bad. I don't know.
No, you know what makes you sad? Those dogs that are dying on those commercials with fucking music
Sure.
playing over it. That's
You know
sadder
what,
than
Somebody
that.
pointed out to me that most of those commercials, they literally just film dogs and play sad music.
That's what it is.
That's all
Danny,
they
what do you?
have to do.
Danny,
Yeah, like honestly, you could show a dog chasing its tail and play sad music, and
And
I
put
would
it
be
in
like,
slow-
"Oh no, turn it off!"
and put it in slow motion or something like that. No, now I notice that there's a slew of commercials with with cancer on television, and I'm like, it makes me so sad. Like I feel so, there's like one commercial where this guy is dancing with his wife, and he has cancer, and they're like slowly dancing to Que Sera Sera, and
we
then
don't know that he has cancer.
he's bald and he's got fucking the oxygen tubes hanging out of his nose and stuff. And then there's like
He's
another
got some.
and there's another commercial where there's like a
Why are
young
you showing this to depress us? This year's already depressing.
no, they want you
Well,
to.
at this point, it's not the year anymore. But
I think all Alex is saying is that if there had been some sad Sarah McLachlan music in the background, he would have bought it more.
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
that's true.
And it's not to shit on
That's
Sarah McLachlan has good songs. It's like Possession. That's a fantastic song that she based on
It's true.
a psychotic letter that a stalker was sending to her before he killed himself. That's a good
Hey,
song.
just like
Possession.
this movie Creed, bringing us right back.
Yeah, and what's interesting now, after I had finished watching it, that there's going to be a Creep trilogy by Patrick Bryce. So there's a second one that they're
okay.
doing with it's
That's
supposed to.
stupid.
It's a. I'd rather watch. Actually, I'd actually like to see
Is
the.
it going to be the same character though?
What
'Cause
they're
I'm
trying to
not-
say-
I don't know if I'm.
Well,
what
it's obviously
they're
not going to be Aaron, but it could be Joseph.
what they're
Yeah.
trying to say is that it might be different antagonists in all three films, which I'm sort of like, I'd rather see, what happened. What happened? I mean, there's not too much you can really do with this character, because you know what he's up to now, and
Yeah.
that's sort of what you were waiting to find out about him.
Right.
And
I actually didn't know anything going into this.
the protagonist in the second one is a woman, so I assume she might cut his dick off by the end of the film, according to 2016. We'll see. I doubt he'll kill her because you know how movies are nowadays; they'll be too like sanitized.
Right. What did you think of the turn? Like when he
I liked it. No,
got
I mean,
the call from the wife.
I was talking to
Or
Danny.
not
I was talking to
For the
Danny.
sister, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to Danny 15 minutes into the movie, and I was like, Danny, I bet you this isn't his house. He isn't not married. None of that. And Danny was like,
This is not my beautiful house.
And then he had a huge black suit that he danced in that looked 20 times the size. But I was like, he doesn't live here
That's
because
after the credits. It's him in a zoot suit.
that same gag was used in another film that I don't even want to say the name because it'll spoil that movie. But it's sort of those gags where you're like, okay, it's that kind of ups the creepy factor. But I was fine with it because this film actually I think came out 3 or 4 years before that other one.
But it was his sister, and she knew he was crazy. She probably didn't know he was a serial killer, but she knew he was crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, like by the end, you see that he has about 50 tapes of people I guess he's killed, which I think is a
Yeah.
little bit overkill for what they did for
Especially
this
Yeah,
movie.
honestly, it should have been like.
He would have been caught by now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
because
how
he was risking the cops. Like, say the cop had taken that guy Aaron seriously and looked at it, like he could have gone to the precinct and showed the image, and then they would have connected it to that guy.
and he hit a guy over the head with an axe in fucking
In the middle
public,
of like
right?
a field.
I did like that effect though. I will give them props for that effect because that was like for a cheap effect, it looked really convincing and it was done
Yeah, it was
well.
intense.
I thought it was just going to be him kind of like goofing and spooking him again, and Aaron would accidentally kill him or something strange like that. But he actually hit him over the head and killed him. And I thought it was good. And I think Mark Duplass plays a pretty convincing weirdo in the film.
Yeah.
What did you think about his performance, Mark Duplass?
I wanted to hang out with him the whole time. I wish I had a friend like him.
I shouldn't just ask serious questions anymore in the show, right? I
Alex,
should just be like, hey,
why
would you...
Danny is that
Why
friend.
can't you be more like Joseph?
I should
Alex?
ask Thea, like, what did you think about his performance? And then I would ask Danny, hey, would you fuck a chicken so we can have the comedy go on? Is that how I should just
I
ask this
would
question?
never fuck a
And then
chicken.
Danny,
okay.
Danny would answer it very seriously.
Yes.
Danny
I
would-
not fuck
Under the
chicken
right
because
circumstances.
ethically that would be against the will of the chicken.
And you could get like a nasty case of salmonella. But I think
Get salmonella.
Patrick Bryce's performance, Thea, were you with him the whole time? Did you like him? Did you feel ambivalent about him?
It's hard to connect to him because you don't see him much.
Yep.
And because he just he's almost too naive
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
But that's more of a personal thing. And maybe that's just because I'm a woman and I'm like, I would be out in 5 seconds.
You also
Right.
watch a lot of horror movies. Maybe he doesn't.
I
It's true.
remember I had to go film.
He doesn't watch enough.
I had to go film somebody's dance routine, and it was like in the middle of nowhere in Brooklyn, like deep end. I think it was like a West Indian sort of concert or something, but I didn't know that's what it was. We would just like I got off the train, we met with these people in a car, and we were just kind of driving into this darkness, and I was like, oh shit. So I understand being in those situations because I was like immediately thinking of I Saw the Devil. You know, you ever seen I Saw the Devil, Thea? There's like a scene in a car where you never saw that film, right?
Still,
you should see that film.
And then when you saw what it actually was, it was an Indian dance routine. How did you feel then?
I was I love it. I love all cultures, Danny. I'm not like you.
No,
So, but when I see what you were leading me. I know what Danny's leading me up to with his Trump voting. But I was in the car, like going, oh my god, looking at the.
I did not vote for Trump.
He's lying.
Please.
I was looking at the sides of the. I was
joke.
looking at the sides of the doors, like, holy shit, how do I get out of here? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And but it's as a person, I think it's also I don't know. It can't be because somebody lives in a rural area as opposed to in the city because I think they were in California in the film. So
California is huge, though. There's a lot of nothing in there.
Right, there's a lot of because the area that he visited was like valleys, you know what I mean? But where he lived was obviously in the city in Los Angeles, so he would obviously be much smarter about fucking dealing with strangers if they're acting weird with you, you know what I mean? But I think it was just sort of that's the only sloppy part of it. But I think what they did with fucking around and the fact that the movie got sold to Netflix, I mean, you know what I mean? They obviously did they did a good deal. I can't imagine this budget for this film being more than $500, like camera, the buying of the camera, which is a good thing. So I think
that was a great wolf mask, though.
I think what you can do is appreciate this film for the technical side, that it's done for nothing, but at least it has an okay narrative to it, and the performances are fine. Like the part where he's in the house, and the one thing that bothered me a lot though is that they used the camera as POV. Which in real life, I hate that shit because like like the part when he's when this guy he kind of disappears out of the room, and he disappeared off the this is after the phone call I think, right? And he goes onto the veranda, outside the window, and he pokes the camera out, and you're supposed to believe that he's looking through the viewfinder of the camera, looking left.
I'm confused. Which part? What?
The part after he doesn't see Mark's character passed out, Joseph passed out from the
when
roof.
Joseph's on the loose, basically, and he's looking around the house
and
for
he
him, and he pokes the camera out onto like the balcony or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And he's
before
looking.
He goes, and it doesn't.
I see what
it doesn't
you're
really make
saying.
sense,
Yeah, he's like going, looking left and right. And we're like, in real life, you just look left and right real quick. You're not gonna look through the fucking camera like an asshole.
Yeah, you're gonna stick your hand out with the camera.
Yeah, he's like, you know what I mean. So
that he was wearing a GoPro.
No, you can see in reflections that he has that whole little.
It's handheld.
It's like a PX.
He turns it around sometimes.
Yeah, it's like a Sony handheld camera because there's a little mic on top of it too. But only barely you can see it in reflection. So once I saw what kind of camera it was, if it was GoPro, that makes sense. But I don't think GoPro was too big back then at that time. Might have been, it was 2000.
But to some extent, is that something that bothers us just because we use cameras on a regular basis?
It could be, right? I think so.
Care about that.
But I think even I think it's just suspension of disbelief where you're like, why would you look that way? Like, all of a sudden the camera becomes your eyeballs. Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Suspension of disbelief because you have to believe that a guy is going to be filming every second. Like he's obsessed with his camera and films every single.
That's
second.
what they have to do in found footage movies nowadays. They're like another character would tell them, don't turn the camera off for any reason. That's what they always tell the main character. In real life, the character.
They did that in Wreck too.
Yeah, Wreck because
the camera does get turned off due to some fall or something, and then it goes back on, and they're hiding in the closet or something.
I can
all found footage is like. Very unbelievable to me.
I can buy Wreck up to a point. I can buy Wreck's reasoning why the cameraman, because he's a cameraman, so obviously he's kind of in his head burned into filming the most important shit happening.
Right.
And then using the light.
They turn it into like he needs it for night vision.
Right. Exactly. That's why I would believe that. Here, this guy's just kind of filming around.
But the cameras always somehow don't get broken. I mean, what are they made out of? Like adamantium?
Titanium.
They're falling off of fucking.
Trust me, when you own a camera and you fall, you put your body on the floor for that fucking camera. You're literally like a football player.
Were attacking you.
I'm worth less.
Exactly. I was working.
One time I was carrying like a subwoofer, which weighed like it was pretty heavy. It was like like a 75-pound thing, and I fell. And I dove under it.
Exactly. That's exactly how you got to treat.
That it didn't hit the ground.
Yeah, because that shit's expensive.
But myself diving under this fucking 75-pound thing.
Did you think it was creepy enough? The film? Did you think it was spooky enough, or did you think it was just okay?
It creeped me out at points. Yeah. Like, legitimately, it did creep me out. I liked it.
I'm glad there was a lack of music too. I'm fine with that because I hate found footage movies that actually use music in it. I can't
Yeah.
understand how that is, but it's like putting
Unless
a
it's
theme.
music on in the place they're in.
Right, that makes sense. And I think, well, not even other films, but I think they actually, they achieved something well with this. I didn't think it was the greatest, but I liked where it went to in the last half of the latter half of the film.
I thought you guys didn't like it. For
I
some
didn't-
reason.
I didn't
It
love
got in
it.
my head that you
I
guys
didn't
wouldn't
love
like
it. I think I feel like my expectations were probably too high
Okay, I think so too.
going
Oh,
in.
and I don't know if you guys heard me before, but these guys did Bad Milo. They produced it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I
don't
knew
know
I-
if
I
I don't
knew
know
he
that
had-
I saw that either.
That was
actually.
another.
That's actually a great movie. It's not
That was
really a horror.
that was an
it's funny,
okay. That was
No,
an
it's-
okay movie too.
I liked it.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Um,
So
I
with
don't
this,
think it's a bad movie. It just wasn't my. It wasn't my thing necessarily.
Yeah, as-
but it was decent.
there could be
a
worse.
stalker.
There could be worse found footage movies. That's what I'm
For
saying.
sure.
So I think they did well. Thea, what rating would you give this film?
I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Masks that you find in a closet, and then somebody tells you about a story that their wife was into bestiality porn.
Danny, I'll give this rating. I'll also give it a 6 out of 10. Being prepared to Benadryling a person to make them pass out, which is highly suspect of the main protagonist.
Yeah. And also, the mix with the alcohol, he could cause ulcerations in his stomach.
Hey, whatever you need to get out of there, right?
I want to give it a 6, so that way we have a 666, but actually I feel like it's better. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Rubbing your genitals as you're in a Benadrylled alcoholic doze and whispering peach fuzz.
So, Thea, what's the final word?
Fuzz.
Also, Thea, before we go away, this movie also mentioned rape. Danny, what's the final word?
Peach.
The horror deconstruction.